Hi, everyone. It's Martha Novak, and this is your show called Real Talk with Martha Novak, said person. Guys, we are still talking about the manifestation process and all the ramifications of it that, honestly, other programs don't tell you. You know, we all say we need mindfulness, we need this, we need that. All these programs are very beneficial in telling us what we need. Nobody tells us how to get there. Now, I'm telling you how to get there, okay? This is a lot more complex and a lot simpler than most people make it. Simpler in that there is a very simple method for you to create the life you want, which is, what's the formula? You all know this by now because I've lectured on it for several weeks. Desire plus knowingness that lives in expectancy plus action that you're propelled to take one way or another that you are being told to take equals the manifestation of what you want. It does every single time. The problem here is several things. For example, the reason this doesn't work always it probably doesn't work with the lottery is that how many consciousnesses are there in that? You see that all that energy is competing with itself. This is really important for you to know because the formula works if you're realistic. You have to start with realism. That means all that fantasy that we have had you live, that you have lived, that we are recommending that you throw in the trash can, has to go. This is not a fanciful thing. This is a working of energy. We're going to talk about that today in more of its aspects. All right? I think we've got a good show for you today. So sit back and relax. Let's start with a prayer, though, as I always do, because I like to get all of us on the same page. And certainly I need to get on your page and make sure that I'm saying what I'm supposed to. Okay? So here we go. Dear God, who is all there is, you who are all we are and all everything is in this world, thank you so much for our being together under the banner of knowing more of you in us and as us, for we are the aspect of the living God that we are. We understand that we are in the process of learning to use this energy and work in cooperation with this energy. We don't know everything, but it is the you through us and through all things that do know everything. We are part of this great oneness with all life. If everything is God, then we are too. Help us open and use and appreciate and thrive in the aspect of our highest selves, dear God. The more pure energies of you and of love, which is all the same thing. And now, dear God, we ask that we know nothing, that it is the you through us and through all things that knows it all, and we open ourselves now to that. And we thank you with all our hearts for the opportunity to be here and to thrive. Thank you so much, dear God, and so it is. Amen. Okay, kids, let's launch in. I have a lot of different things. Now, where we stopped 2 weeks ago, because I wasn't here last week, where we stopped two weeks ago was a chapter. By the way, I should show you this. It's the chapter in a book that I wrote, The Life You Want. It spells all this out in detail. Some people find it a hard book to read because it's meant to challenge your issues. Wow. And I'm going to have more of that at the end of this because I really want you to understand the process. And I want you to understand how stubborn we can all be. And I want you to know what to look for. Now, that's my little dog, whom I should have put up earlier. he decided he was going to sit with me today and do the show. The problem is he might bark while he's here. So I've got a little bark collar on him. It's not one of the shocky kinds. It's the one that squirts citronella. And he doesn't pay any attention to it at all. Anyway, all right. Well, this is a human experience, right? I was laughing years ago because people would say to me, you should stop your dog from barking. And you know what? I should stop my dog from barking. However, dogs bark. However, storms rage. However, whatever happens in life, we shouldn't resist. For example, just as noise sometimes in the background helps us concentrate more, that's what we need to roll with. So we need to open our mind to, well, what could I get out of this? All right. My husband, my darling husband, I hear, is taking the dog and doing something with the dog right now, even as we speak. So how nice. All right. So we were talking about a chapter, What We Must Know to Live Well. I am deeply aware that all of you don't know this yet. This is the process of emotionally maturing. For heaven's sakes, I'm going to be challenged my whole life to know these things, guys. It's the deepening of us. It doesn't mean anything against us if we don't know this. My God, when something comes along like an illness to challenge us, we're going to see how well we know things and how well we don't. But the power in this is let's go with and let's start knowing these things and let's start making these a part of us now while we're young, healthy, vibrant, whatever. And we've got a phone call here too. It's a 706 exchange. I don't see a hold time, which is odd for me, which means that you may just be listening to this show to listen. However, I will go to you in just a minute. There is a little confusion here because we do have a guest call-in number, and I should tell you about it in case you want to talk to me live. This is a live show today. 347-850-1647. That's 347-850-1647. I certainly would love to hear about your manifestation process and how successful it is in your working this formula. And if it's not successful, I'm certainly interested in figuring out why for you so that you can do something else. Okay. So this person is still on the line. It's a 706 exchange. I'm going to go to them and see if we can bring them in. Sometimes we have a little trouble with our technology.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, my name is Martha. To whom am I speaking?
Hi, this is Rupert.
Rupert. Well, Rupert, you have the name of my brother-in-law. Very nice to meet you, Rupert.
Oh,
There are not many Ruperts around, by the way, I think.
no, it's not.
It's one of those good old-fashioned names, kind of like Martha. Martha's an old-fashioned name, too.
No, it's so true. How's your Sunday?
Well, my Sunday's doing great. How about yours, darling?
It's going great. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, Rupert, is there anything that you would like to talk about? Have you been listening to the shows and trying this formula out, I hope? And what's been going on with you concerning this subject?
Oh, well, I was going to ask your opinion on something.
All right.
What's your opinion on Ghostbusters?
What's my opinion on what? Rupert, could you explain that again? I didn't hear what you said.
Japanese.
I hear what's your opinion on Japanese? And that is all I hear.
Japanese bukkake.
Oh, I happen to not know about that, quite frankly. I will be delighted to talk about what I do know about, but I don't know anything about that. I am rather short on some of the other cultural spiritual experiences. Why don't you tell me about that? Hello, Kat.
Japanese bukkake. It's a salty uh, mixture. You've never heard of the Japanese bukkake?
No, I have not. Is it something that what do you do with this mixture?
You ingest it.
You ingest it? No, I've never heard of this. This is really interesting.
Oh no, it is. It is.
Is it like a fermented product?
Correct.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Correct.
I have not tried it, but I'll tell you probably why I have not tried it. I happen to be extremely sensitive to almost everything. I'm very, very sensitive to any kind of fermented product, any kind of acid product, anything like that right now is not real good for me just because of my body and how I react to it. But I hear fermented products are just wonderful for other people. So I say, that's great. I'm for anything that works for us. You know what I mean? But the tricky thing is that we've got to find out what works for us. And many of us don't know. For example, right now, I've been a huge black tea drinker all my life, not even more than coffee. And that's something I can't tolerate, not because of the caffeine. I'm fine with caffeine. It's the tannic acid that is kind of wonky on me right now. So at various points in our lives, I think various things are good for us. I've said that all along. It's like, these things everything's there to help. It's there to help at a specific time. It's, hopefully we can get back to it when we clear out whatever isn't helping us. I've found a really good, wonderful friend of mine here in the mountains with me. Her name is Julie, and she is probably one of the most powerful energetic healers I've ever known physically. She is just marvelous. So I've been working with her to find out all these really subtle things,
Do you think she's listening?
I don't know whether she is or not. So,
okay. I was wondering if she could. She might have heard of the Japanese bukkake.
Spell it for me.
Well, Japanese.
Uh-huh. I got that part.
Oh, I gotta check the spelling on bukkake. Hold on.
Okay, sweetie.
Bukkake.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'll certainly ask her about that. Um, we talk about products all the time. We talk about things all the time. I'm sure if she doesn't know about it, she will, but I'm sure she probably already does. She knows far more than I do about the physical thing. Have you been taking it for a while?
It's usually ingested about once a month.
Mm.
And it's in a group setting.
Mm-hmm. So is this like a peyote or something like that that's used as part of a ceremony?
Sure.
Okay. All righty. Well,
Ritual.
here's where I'm coming from with something like that, not knowing one thing about this. Okay. So I put that on the table. I think that we ought to do everything very naturally. And that's where I come from. I don't think we should necessarily induce anything. Now, here's what I think. I think that a lot of cultures do that because they don't have a method to get to these deeper, more powerful issues, and the drugs do open them up to that. Problem is sometimes they're not always controllable. Um, this is something that I've always been a sensitive Rupert. I've always been enormously sensitive to any kind of medicine, stimulant, anything. So that was off the table for me immediately. Okay, Kat is saying, okay, he's talking about Japanese bukkake, which is something, Kat, they couldn't hear you, sweetie, so I'm just repeating myself for the radio audience, Rupert. Rupert is talking about it's kind of like a peyote. It's a drug that apparently, or a substance, an herb, or something that people take as part of a ritual. I don't know a thing about this. I'm saying it now. He was asking me what I thought about it, so I really can't speak to it. But in general, what I am saying is because I've been so sensitive, I've had to find a different way, an organic way to release issues and to explore self-awareness and consciousness and enlightenment. That's been my journey. My journey is people's potential. The only way I was able to do this is to start experiencing my own, right? So that's my process. And Rupert, that's the only thing that I know. It is a process of awareness and unfolding. You're going to hear more about that in the show today because I'm going to tell you exactly the steps through the awareness part of this, because I believe in the triad of awareness, consciousness to enlightenment. That's what I feel. We're somewhere in that journey, if we're even on the table in terms of awareness, because I think that world is in such chaos because they're not very aware. I think we're all, as a human society, human society, arguing about that still. So, sweetie, I can't speak to that. I wish I knew something about it. I do not. I know that's yes. Thank you, Kat, for saying that to me, because I don't know what people can hear and what they can't. Anyway, I believe in a more natural process. I don't believe in taking substances. And certainly I have that attitude only because of the way I myself am wired. So I've had to do it a different way. I think I was supposed to do it a different way because I was supposed to find a method that is enormously gentle, but very challenging. We are supposed to challenge our stuff and get to it. And that's what I speak about every week. So, Rupert, good luck with whatever you're doing. Okay?
Thank you. Hey, can I ask you one last question?
Of course, darling. You can ask me anything you want.
Oh, thank you. What is your opinion about ghost fucking?
Thank you very much for sharing that. We're going to say bye right now. Okay? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we go back. I don't know about people like that. Certainly, if his intention was to convince us to take this drug, he's just blown it. All right, here we go. So we're talking about what we must know to live well. Okay? Last week, I said, here's what we must know. And here's what you will know eventually on this journey. Now, here's the other thing that I was going to say in the beginning. Yeah, it's real good you couldn't hear that, Kat. Thank you. Here's what we do need to have in mind. That formula that I've given you is nothing more than energy at work. It isn't about whether you believe this or that. It isn't about whether you don't believe this or that. It isn't about whether or not your mother loved you. It isn't about whether your father was mean to you. It isn't about anything. It's a working of energy. While you're making your way and opening your mind even to God, this thing works. Your whole life is proof that the formula I've just given you works. You may not have what you want. And that doesn't have anything to do with the formula or with God. That has to do with your awareness. That has to do with your awareness. Now, we're going to talk a lot about awareness today, and we're going to try to start opening that for you. Okay? What I said to Rupert before he went into the extreme is there is a triad here: awareness to consciousness to enlightenment. That's the journey that we're on. Okay. Now, last week, I went through several of these, and now I'm just going to quickly go through these things. God is everything, and God is all you are. Yep. You remember that the confusing thing about God is that God presents according to our understanding, either as, and that's the important phrase, this isn't it? According to our understanding is the important phrase here. It presents either as the fullness of itself, highest self, everything's God, right? Including you, or the absence of itself, where you see everything is lacking and you're in a fear-based experience. And you can go back and forth and toggle back and forth between these two things. That's where most of you are right now. But we're going to be trying always. That's what all these books are about. I mean, all the books are about, all the tapes are about, all the CDs and DVDs and this radio show. It's about bringing you on board so you all are living in a very aware, conscious state as the highest self. So, God is everything, and God is all you are. God is the fear-based self. God is the love-based self. Which one do you want to be? If you're in the fear-based self, you see everything as random, and you're a victim. If you're in the highest self, you know that everything is 100% all right. It's perfect, and God is working through you, and you wait for the messages from God, and you talk from that, and you be from that. Next one. Consciousness is entirely supporting you, and everything is working for your ultimate happiness. It is. You have all the tools you were born with. You were born with them inside you. You have all the consciousness. You have all the creativity to make plenty of money. You have everything. You've either been using it or you have not. That's it. Okay. God is the chaos and the order, the known and the unknown, the seen and the unseen, the manifested and the yet unmanifested. We talked about how when you're using the formula, you have to go to the mind of God. You have to realize it's energy before it's substance, and energy is the same as substance. To your highest self, to your God self, the living God in you, it's all the same thing. The more you know that, the faster you'll bring in the substance. Isn't that interesting? The next one. This is a creative universe where all things are possible. Absolutely. But I go back to that thing that this very close-minded man said to me one time, and he said, "You mean I can manifest an elephant in the desert?" And I said, first of all, you don't want to be in the desert. Second of all, what are you going to do with an elephant? Thirdly, the whole thing isn't, you're not talking about something you really want. This is based on you. What you're going to be manifesting comes out of you, comes out of your thing, comes out of what you're going to add value to in this world, what you are going to enjoy, what you are going to give, what you're going to receive, what you're going to thrive in. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to randomly manifest something. Why would you do that? It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. It's not the way things work. That is a fantasy. That doesn't make any sense at all. And this is a very rational universe. There is a way to work with this energy. It is not random at all. David Bohm, one of the leading physicists in this whole quantum energy movement, said there is hidden order. He proved it. Hidden order and chaos. That you can't see the hidden order. Okay. This is why hindsight is 2020. When you're in the chaos, you can't see it. You can't see what the hidden order is. You can only go to the new order, which always starts in chaos. And then you look back and go, I get it. You see? Okay. When something seems to block you, you're in your own way. When something seems to block you, you are in your own way. It's true. There's nothing here to block you but you. So let's look at those blocks and get rid of them, okay? And get beyond them. You keep in mind that when we're talking about issues, we're talking about clutter in the emotional body. Clutter in the emotional body. These things have to be plucked out. So the things that really belong in that emotional body, and what are those things? Love, unconditional, by the way. Awe, forgiveness, compassion, joy, and a lot more. Those are the things that have their natural roots there. But we've got it all cluttered up with all these feelings we learned in kidhood, many of which, I should say, are really erroneous things. They're lies that we tell ourselves. There may be lies that your parents told themselves that we now live. Why? To belong? You belong to something much bigger than the family of origin. You just do. Nothing is what it seems. Yes, that's another thing that we need to start embracing. Nothing's what it seems. Nothing's what it seems. It's all about energy. It's not about personality. It's not about issues. It's not about what you did or did not get. Relative to this, it's all about energy. So what do we need to do? Part of your awareness is getting more and more sensitive to what the energy is doing underneath, not what is you're seeing on the surface. See, when we're kids and we don't understand energy, everything, all of our issues are created from appearances. But is it the truth? No, probably not. All right, here we go. Now, these are the things we have not talked about. So we're going to talk about them in a little more detail, and I've got a lot of more information for you as well. You also need to know, now keep in mind, I don't expect you to know it all right now, but this is where you're heading. And I can't get you to go there if you don't know where you're heading, right? Who would do it? Okay. So another thing one needs to know is your life is more than your biological birth and death. Do you realize that every issue that we've ever had is there to avoid death? To avoid death, to avoid being hurt, and hence, if you're hurt, you might die. Every issue is formed from this. So what if you are absolutely sure you're never going to die? Because I guarantee you, you're never going to die. How can I guarantee you? Well, I can only tell you my experiences, and I see life goes on all the time. It's just less dense molecules, ladies and gentlemen. Less dense molecules. Life does go on. Love never dies. It does go on. So the more you can accept this now, the more you're not afraid. Right? Because the ultimate fear is, oh, we're going to die. We're going to be terribly sick and we're going to die. Well, what if we really know ourselves really well and God keeps us on the cutting edge of change? And by the way, this isn't something for the elite few out there. This is what's promised to you. Hi, Pat. Aw. I was watching them cut down a tree next to my crib. You did feel compelled to witness that. That is such a man thing, Pat. He said he was late getting on the show because he was watching the tree cut down. I think that's so cute. My husband would have done the same thing. Got to watch that tree being cut down. We've seen some fabulous things with some of our tree men because we are in the woods, and they, oh my gosh, I can hardly watch it, you know. It's like watching a high trapeze act, and you just are so afraid the person's going to get hurt, you know. But anyway, I understand. All right. We need to get real comfortable with all of this, guys, because God talks to you the more out of your issues you are. It isn't that God isn't always talking to you right now, by the way, with tons of issues. It's just the clutter gets in the way of your being able to hear that clear voice through you. So what does that tell us? We need to clean up that emotional body so we can hear better. And here comes the awareness. Here comes the consciousness behind that. The next thing to talk about is that pain is not supposed to last. You're there to find out why it is and move through it. Now, that does not mean that those people who suffer from something this has been their fault. I hear people saying that to themselves. No, you're doing exactly for yourself what you think in the moment. And you see, there is a lesson and something for us to learn in everything. But I'm going to ask you now, as one friend to another, if something's wrong, for heaven's sakes, go find the answer. I do believe there are answers to things. They may be mysterious. They may be in an unknown field. But in my opinion, I think we ought to look in the box and out of the box. And we ought to have that awareness in us to know, yes, that's good for us. No, that's not good for us. Absolutely. So this is another advantage of waking up our consciousness, because we'll start having that sensitivity. And believe it or not, less is more in many cases. You know, I was certainly a big treater most of my life with supplements. Okay. Oh man, you know, I'd read about this or that and I'd take it because somebody said it was good, until I woke up and I realized, wait a minute, my body doesn't want this. And that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to be more aware of yourself. And you're going to give yourself permission to, whoa, I cannot make myself take this. Therefore, it is not good for me. Going back to the first phone call we had this morning, the experience of everything being here to help us is true. But it isn't as simple as that, guys, because we've got to know when and where and how to do everything. We have to be in touch with ourselves that much. Sometimes we're not, and we want health and healing, and I say, well, that's just wonderful. Find out from someone who can do it. I particularly like energetic medicine because it's not at all invasive, and man, my body reacts. It's so sensitive, my body reacts to anything that, you know, is invasive like that. You let me have a surgery on a ingrown toenail and my body reacts like I've just had my gallbladder out. I mean, seriously, it's that intense for me. So we have to do what we need to do for us. Hello, Fabiola. Yes, that's absolutely right. Fabiola says we have to align with divine order, and that's absolutely true. That's what I mean by cooperation, you know? Good morning, darling. I like you so much. Thank you so much, Fabiola. I'm just delighted that you're with us now. Um, yes, it is. It is about divine order, but the first thing that needs to happen is hello, good morning, Sheila. Very nice to have you here today. Ooh, what a pretty picture. Um, One of the things we have to do is cooperate with it before we even realize what's going on. We have to be willing to cooperate. I'm going to give you some examples when we get there about people that are not cooperating. They mean to cooperate, but the closed mind never cooperates. And what's so insidious about it is we tell ourselves that our minds are open when they aren't. Okay, now moving along. Have I covered everything I want about that? I don't think pain is supposed to last. I think, now listen, I've been in pain a lot in my life before I started cleaning myself out and doing what I needed to do and finding out more about myself physically. All right. I've always been so interested in myself mentally and emotionally that if there was going to be something I neglected, it was going to be the physical. And you know what? I'm at the age now where I can't do that anymore. We're supposed to be wise physically, not just wise mentally and emotionally and spiritually, you see. So now it is about all of you. And as soon as you all, and you may be very young, I see several of you are very young, but the earlier you can learn this, the more you're going to thrive. Just the way it is. Okay. All right. Moving on. You cannot be stolen from because you're an aspect of God. So you are an endless source of supply and creativity. Did you know that? You see, we've all been stolen from. I've had a couple of ideas stolen from me by really big people. It teaches you, first of all, to be smart and to know who you're telling what to. And number two, I just reinvented. If that came out of me and it was that good that somebody stole it, then why don't we create something else? Now, we're supposed to be more and more discerning as we grow up and grow into our wisdom. And I do recommend that because it's not wise to be so open that we're taken advantage of. You've got to understand everybody's got an agenda. The people that you love the most and feel most comfortable with have agendas that match yours for the most part. You see? But everybody's got one. And you'll be smart if you're discerning enough to find out what they are. And then you'll know how to trust or not trust. I think trust is a marvelous thing, but don't misplace it with untrustworthy people. Okay. So isn't that nice to know you're an endless resource? And if something gets taken away from you like that, create it again or create something better. It's there for you to create something better. And you may say to yourself, as I did, well, I don't have a clue about what that is. And you know, that's a very powerful statement because it means that you're a vacuum and the whole universe doesn't like vacuums. It always fills it with something. So here come the creative ideas within a few days. Giving up is a wonderful thing because it says, here I am to be filled. And what comes in when at that very spiritual time, that very spiritual surrender where you say, I'm here not alone, but I am empty, is that God comes in and gives you the ideas and you get to work. It's very exciting. So please Get your mind aligned with that. We must all stop feeling sorry for ourselves and yearning for what has been and start creating something new. That's your spiritual journey, isn't it? It is. Come on. And you're supposed to enjoy your life, by the way. Even if you haven't before, now is the beginning. Right now. Pretty exciting stuff. All right, the next point is you cannot die of a broken heart unless you choose to. Why would you do that? There are people that die from broken hearts. And I'm sorry we're all hurt, but we are hurt from time to time. As a matter of fact, those of you who are single, you must know that when you have a partner, that's where you're going to be hurt probably, because we want you to pull in a good partner, by the way, but we all say things that reveal our unlovingness, and we've got to learn through partnership in many cases that we need to drop this issue or that to be more loving people. Partnership really teaches us that. I think that movement is a great cure. When we have a broken heart, I read an article, I think it was yesterday, that said, here is how to heal a broken heart. And what their recommendation was to think of all the bad things that this person did instead of all you would like to share. When you're having a hard time getting over someone, I want to put on the table that it's because we have our hopes and dreams tied up with that person, and we don't have any hopes and dreams of our own. Many times, long after you'd say, had nothing to do with this other person, we yearn for them because we're yearning for the hopes and dreams to be fulfilled because we don't have any of our own yet to fulfill. Some of us have learned that we're always doing for other people and that we don't have any hopes and dreams of our own, and we shouldn't. That's an erroneous thinking, because let me tell you, you're the only one that you should be doing for. And certainly when you have a partner, you fulfill your lovingness, what you know about love, with that other person, and it becomes this divine loop. That's great. But until that person comes along, and even when that person is here, you've got to know where your balance points are. You know what your balance points are? I haven't talked about this in a long time, so let's go into that. Your balance points are what makes you, you, according to your gifts and your predilections and who you are. Okay? For example, my balance points are these. I love nature. I love animals, wild or domesticated. I love them. I love beauty. I love color. I love, it's what I pepper my life with. I love creativity. Okay? I love people. I love, my list goes on. If I took any of those things and I removed myself from that equation, I wouldn't last very long, because those things matter to me. They are who I am. I love words. Oh my God, words are it, but that's part of the creativity. So when I married Michael, I love my dear husband. He doesn't particularly like words. He's a doer. Let me tell you, this is an engineer who is very good at what he does. Okay? And this darling man does what he needs to do for him, and I do what I need to do for me. I'll read, for example. I'll write, for example. We don't give those things up. I've got 2 calls. I'm going to go to them in just a minute, so hang on. Those are balance points. You better know what yours are and make sure they're always in your life. That's a happy life. It doesn't mean that you love anybody less. You understand that? It means that you are putting yourself in the equation too, because without those things, you wouldn't be here. You'd exist, but not thrive, not live, not look forward to the next day. What are your balance points? These are balance points beyond fantasy. Now, guys, I use fantasy, but I use it when I write. I don't use it in my life. And this is the problem. When people use fantasy in their lives and not in some creative endeavor, get it out of your life. Put it on the page. Put it on the canvas. Put it in a sculpture. Put it in your garden, but not in your life. Let's go to some of the calls, and then we'll go back to our list and go on with what we're talking about. This is a 773 exchange. To whom am I speaking?
Hi, my name's Joellen. How are you?
Hello, Joellen. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. It's a chilly but really nice day. So
well, that's wonderful. Where's 773? Where are you?
Well, 773 Chicago, but I've since moved. I'm now in Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. Okay. And so it's nice and chilly there. I'm going to kind of translate because my dear friends on the radio said, and on Facebook Live, are having a hard time hearing you. So I am going to speak up for you. Okay. What can I do for you, Joellen?
Well, you know, I am grateful for the job that I have right now. And I really like the kids because I'm a teacher. And I'm kind of listening to what you're saying about what it is that makes you, what makes you happy. And I really love being creative. And I really like my free time so I can create. My job, as much as I love it, really takes all of my energy. And I want to figure out a way to be able to be creative and be financially sound.
Great idea. Yeah, I hear your dilemma, Joellen. I've heard it sometimes throughout my life. There is, in my opinion, well, let me start here. I'm an introvert, and you wouldn't know it, but I am. Everybody goes, "You're an introvert." All right. Here's the introvert extrovert thing. The introverts are people that take energy from being alone, and the extroverts are people that take energy from being with people. Think of it as a sliding scale from 0, which is the true introvert, to 10, which is the true extrovert. It's where your energy source lies. Now, I don't know where you're going to be around there. I have a feeling you're somewhere in the middle. I think people are very challenged when they're in the middle because you've got to be very sensitive to yourself about whether you're going to be out in a crowd or whether you're going to be alone and creating. Mine's easy. I'm probably a 1, okay, down there at the end of the scale. So I'm perfectly happy sitting at my desk creating fantasy scenes and dialogue with people and that kind of stuff for my writing. Now, so that's one of the first things I want you to know about yourself. What are you? Because let me tell you, you have to be, you're being challenged to be a 10 when you're with kids. You know this. There is nothing that zaps your energy like being with kids. I love kids, but I have avoided doing what you're doing for a living my whole life. I couldn't expend that much energy. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm supposed to expend it a different way. All right. So the first thing to ask is, who and what are you? And let's make sure that who and what are you is getting a match. Because if you are an 8, then you're learning a lot from what you're doing. If you're going to write about, and I don't know what your talents are, you also have some sort of painting talent. Do you know that? You're very good in that direction too. I don't know whether you've ever developed that. But for example, if you're going to write something about kids, well, you're in an ideal situation to get information, right? And sometimes we're inputting information and we're learning, and sometimes we're actually using it. So I think there's some questions for you first to ask yourself about what you're doing. All right. And whether you have gotten the information enough, what you now really want to do, what would really enhance you. And I'll also say that while you're making a transition like this, it's very important for you to realize you're going to have to expend more energy. Going from one thing to the other is you're going to expend more energy. I've just written my first fiction book. I'm still in the last stages of it. And I'm having to write this while I'm doing private sessions, while I do a radio show, while I teach my classes. I've had to take whatever time that I could possibly take. That's an expenditure of energy that I might normally not have to do. But this is something I really want. So I do want to put on the table that you're probably going to have to start whatever you're wanting to do before you know how to make a living at it. What is your, hello, Jerry, glad you're with us today. What is your expertise? What do you like to do? What kind of creativity?
Graphic design. Right now I teach graphic design and photography.
Mm.
And I like to do graphic design.
How wonderful. That's why I keep seeing painting and that kind of thing for you. So that's marvelous. Well, you know what? Have you done some professionally before?
Yes.
Why don't you do some freelance jobs for people? Is that possible? To get your chops up?
The problem is the school that I'm at is so labor intensive. I'm having a hard time carving out time.
Is there any way to reduce that? Hello, Susan. Is there any way for you to reduce the labor intensive time at this particular school?
I've tried. It still creeps up.
Mm-hmm. It sounds to me, sweetie, that this is a case of you needing a business coach or needing somebody who can talk to you about doing business a different way, so that we make sure that your time is that you're valuing your time a little more and you're not letting people encroach on it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right.
Because I think that you say, I'm going to do this, and then somebody asks and somebody asks, and you've kind of you're a very sweet person. I can tell that, Joelle, and I know just from your what you're saying, you're a very kind, sweet person, but you're letting, this is an energy problem, not a creative problem. You understand?
Okay.
You're letting energy dissipate in various ways, and there's a way to say no. There's a way to structure your time so that you are better equipped to work for yourself here. Make sense?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So if you want to talk about this further without getting into a lot of detail right now, if you want to talk about this further, you can always call me on through my website or contact me through my website. My email is the Burgess no, it's not, Martha@marthanovak.com. And and if you need any support with a session, I have loads of people that do that. And so that's a possibility for you as well. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, darling. Good luck. All right? Bye-bye. Susan, thank you so much for writing. I see your Facebook Live note. And yes, I understand the way this must feel, darling. But this isn't about the past now. This is about you and what you want from now on. And I think that sometimes breakups with people really are the great opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves. And I think reinvention is one of the greatest things ever. So bring yourself out of some of that energy and place some of that energy now in, well, who really am I? And what do I really want? And what certainly went wrong? And what is in me to fix? I know that when I got divorced many, many years ago, I went on a journey of discovery and worked on myself to be the very best partner I could be. That doesn't mean that that was a partner that I was laughing with my darling husband. My husband teasingly calls me his first wife Eva's revenge, because Eva was interested in all this that I do. She would have liked it, his first wife, right? And so we tease that I am Eva's revenge, because I'll say it like it is. I mean, I try to be as loving as possible, but I believe in the truth on the table and good communication and moving through our stuff and working through everything. And there's no other thing on the table for me other than loving him dearly. But we're gonna work through it, right? Because otherwise you just have to hide it, or you have to sweep it under the rug. You let a little time goes by, as much as a week, and those things under the rug don't have a name anymore, and you're never going to get to them if they don't have a name. All right? So you either have to do that, you have 20 years worth of that, you resent, okay? You're going to have to get divorced, or you're going to have to learn to work through it. It's a great opportunity right now. So Susan, get out there, okay? Let's start finding out who you are and what you really want in life. Let's become a really good partner for yourself, and then there will be a partner for you in that energy. Okay, we have another call, so let's go to that one, and then we'll go back. Hello, I'm talking to 803. To whom am I speaking?
I'm speaking to Chris.
Chris! Hey, Chris, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm Martha. What can I help you with, Chris?
Do you read?
Do I read? Yes, I do. I guess that is what I need to say to you. I indeed do. However, I am much more interested in reading what is blocking you than just telling your future. Okay? I don't believe that anything's written in stone like that. So, Chris, what's your question?
Yeah, when do you see my money picking up?
When you get more creative.
Okay.
Okay? This is
I wanted to start a little business.
Yeah?
But my mother got sick and I've been taking care of her.
Yeah. Well, here's...
So I was probably going to end up bringing my computer that I bought over her house and start.
Well, and
Wi-Fi.
Chris, I think that's a great idea. Now listen, Chris.
So you see that working out soon?
No, Chris, let me tell you what I'm hearing right now. You were going to start a business, and this business, for some reason, whether it is that your mother is sick or whether it's because of COVID or whatever, isn't going to look like what you originally thought it would. So when we talk about being creative, you're going to have to change this a little bit. For some reason, I don't know what this business is, but it's going to need to be changed. You've got to change the model for this to work. Does that make sense to you?
Kind of.
Okay.
You elaborate?
Well, let's hear what you were going to do. What's the business going to be? What kind of business?
I went out and bought a computer, and I was going to read books on tape, like do voiceovers.
Okay. You have a lovely voice, first of all. That's not the way to go about this. I've been in show business my whole life. That's not the way to go about this. If you're going to do this, and you do have a lovely voice, here's how you do it, okay? You record little snippets of your voice in a 1-minute format. You go to an agency with that. I don't know where is 803? What part of the country?
South Carolina.
You're in South Carolina.
Right.
Probably your best market, I would think, would be Atlanta if you're in South Carolina.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
There are some agencies in Atlanta that do nothing but handle voice talent. You don't want to do anything fancy with this tape. What you want to do is you want to put one line of like a very serious voice, that is doing a documentary. You want to do one line that's might be something that you would use on a commercial. You would do another line that is this, another line that is that. I notice that you have a Southern accent. You are going to use your Southern accent for a line. You're going to get rid of that Southern accent for another one, because Atlanta gets a lot of commercials and industrial films that go all over the world. You can't have a Southern accent on some of that. Okay? So you're going to...
My voice kind of changes. I moved down here when I was 15.
Okay.
Originally from Washington, D.C.
Got it. So you can go back and forth, because you're going to need to go back and forth between a Southern accent and no accent at all. And you are, and then if you do any character voices, you're going to then put a little section of character voices as well. This is how to do it. Then you submit this to them. They say, yes, we will take you. They will put it online so that anybody that looks for a voice talent is going to go in there and they're going to hear your experience. And this is how to do it. But just sitting in your house doing these things, you have no market for this, because this is the way the market works out there in the world. Okay?
Right.
All right.
Well, that's exactly what I was supposed to do.
All right. So this is what, right. So you have to do something that is no more than a minute long. And you don't want to read the whole time. You've got to show them your range, you see?
Right.
You might want to get on that computer and listen to other people's voice talent tapes. Listen to those first, and then put your own together. Okay? Because some of them can be.
All these people.
No, you won't be auditioning. You'll be doing a tape that's already together, and then submitting it to them so that they can see what you do, and they'll take you or not. But I want you to hear what's already out there in the market, because you're competing against some pretty intense people out there who have done this for years and know how to do it. Go find out how to do this over and above what I'm telling you right now. Okay?
Okay.
So you got to do homework first, and then there you go. So that's what.
Thank you.
That's what Spirit wanted us to talk about. All right, darling. Take care and good luck. Okay?
All right.
Bye-bye. Okay, back to work. I wonder what I do with my glasses. All right, here we go. Fear is the opposite of love, guys. This is the next point I want to make. Fear is the opposite of love, and all emotions, once surrendered, take on an ascended version of themselves, what they have been all along, which is the loving energy. I've said all along, there is an exercise that I always have my classes do, and it's called the threshold exercise. By the way, if you're interested in taking classes with me, contact me through my website or through my email, martha@marthanovak.com. Okay, the threshold exercise is draw a horizontal line across the page, draw a vertical line. You're going to have in infinite vertical lines when you do this exercise. Put an issue that you're trying to work on at the bottom of that vertical line and follow it up, because when you cross that threshold into the highest self, it becomes something else. Let me give you an example of that. So you've got selfishness. You're very selfish. You do nothing but self-focus and think about yourself. You realize it's a problem. Okay, we're going to work on that. If you work with me, we work on that, we work on that, we work on that. No judgment at all. We work on it. It's where you started. What does it become in your high self? It becomes you do the right things to do. You are always self-caring, and yet you are self-caring not exclusively, but you self-care for yourself and others. You make good decisions here, generous decisions for both of you. You're in the equation, and so is someone else. That's the kind of thing that I'm saying. So if that energy did not exist in the ego child's mind, there would be no potential for it in the highest self. Everything exists in the ego child's mind so that it can go to the highest self. We have a method whereby you are releasing all that and you end up in this realm of consciousness. That's pretty great. Okay. The last point that I want to make here, which is what you need to know to live well, is that you are love itself. It's who you really are. All these issues, even your rage issues, are all love that could not be itself. Could not be itself because you perceived it that way. And now that you are out of your childhood home and your misperceptions there, we have to find out what you can be in your potential. And whatever you decide to do and how you are becoming, there's one word that is true of your energy in that state, and that's love. You are loving there. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to experience a tough love there from time to time, but love it is. All right. There were several things I wanted to also bring up to you. Here we go. I want to talk about flow for a moment. I want to talk about, I also want to talk about the steps to awareness, okay? I want you all to know that nobody is denied flow. It's an energy source, however, that you have to learn to work from. That's all. The rich and famous don't have anything over you. They just got there first. You understand? They're just using the energy. And now it's important that you do it. True abundance certainly does contain the element of wealth, if that's what you so choose to have. But it's also about honoring all life and being fluid emotionally and other ways, and knowing the source from which all supply comes, and working with the energy and using it well, and being generous, grateful, happy, and creative. That's it in a nutshell. That's flow. True abundance is enjoying your life every moment and living in peace. There you go. There you go. Now, I want to tell you a quick story. And then I'll get to these steps to awareness. So last week, I met a dear person, I saw her again this week, whose cousin, she thought, had committed suicide. She comes from a very fundamentalist church. And she was so upset because her church said he was damned to hell. Now, I don't believe any of that. I believe that God is love. I don't think there's anything in the world that isn't love. It's love that can't be itself. And there are a lot of doctrines that teach a fear-based God, and she is totally locked into that. So when I saw her this week, I asked how she was doing, and she was adamant about what she believed. Adamant. He was in hell. Guys, at one point in our lives, there are a lot of reasons, by the way, that people embrace fear. And they embrace fearful communities. Now, I'm not judging this, but you're listening to a show in consciousness, and we have to talk about it. And that is, she doesn't realize that her mind is closed because she is holding on to this thing. She has every right to do so, by the way. But I wanted to give you an example of how you can't change if you're holding on to something like this. You can't see anything else. Now, she says she wants to be at peace about this, and yet she's not asking herself the questions because she's in a fear-based community, and that gives her a great deal of comfort. Human beings' loves are very complicated. Every human being in the world, your ego child's mind, is going to tell you you have an open mind when you do not. It may not be as dramatic as that one, but what are you not quite at peace with? That's what we need to work on. Because in God's great experience of consciousness, everything is 100% okay. Shocking, huh? Comes smack up against what we think in our ego child's mind. Everything is 100% okay. Notice when I say that, if there's anything in you that goes, oh, no, it's not, that's what we need to work on. One of the exercises that I pull out, I have a much more powerful methodology than this, but one of the things I will occasionally pull out to show someone is I'll phrase a statement a specific way. I'll phrase a statement to say, let's say, I now can make money. I now can make all the money I need. Let's take that statement. So I'll phrase it and I'll say this back to me. I now can make all the money I need to 100%. And now tell me everything that's wrong with that statement and keep saying it, because every time you say it, I now can make all the money I need to 100%. You keep saying it over and over and over again. It brings up deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper levels of your issues. Your issues are not going to clear until we're at the bottom line or a series of bottom lines. Thank you, sweetheart. Fabiella, it's really interesting. She said good explanation about fundamentalism. The real interesting thing is there are fear-based religions and there are love-based religions. There are fear-based beliefs, there are love-based beliefs. There's a fear-based God and a love-based God. You all are listening to a show on consciousness. So your choice is made, except for the arguments within yourself. You understand that? So that's the reason I'm talking to you like that. I cannot tell you how much I support everybody's right to believe whatever they need, because we're all on our own spiritual journeys, and this is about our soul growth, isn't it? You see, through how we live. But it can be changed. Okay. All right. Let's go into the 13 steps to awareness. You may want to write these down because they're really good ones. Okay? Here we go. Got 15 minutes left. We should be able to get through this. I'm going to give you the name of the state of awareness, and then I'm going to give you an example of that. All right? You remember that the journey to consciousness is through awareness, consciousness to enlightenment. This is the journey we're on. The awareness is the real big bugaboo, because we're only aware of what we're aware of. That's our limit until we open our awareness and we're aware of more. How do we open our awareness? We look at our issues and what we're doing, you see, and why we're doing it, because it has absolutely nothing to do with what we're doing. It has to do with why we're doing it, and that's the road to releasing that, so you'll do something else. Are you ready? Here we go. Number 1 is the shock. You say, I do what? Number 2 is the guarded trust. Well, if you say so, we say. Well, if you say I'm doing that. Number 3 is surprise. Am I still doing it? Number 4 is the observation. That's what it looks like. I see. Number 5 is the understanding. I understand why I'm doing it. This is when you have asked the questions, why am I doing that? What in my background propels me to do it that way? Why am I doing that? And then you go, I understand why I'm doing that. I get it. Number 6 is witnessing. When you see it again, you go, that's it, isn't it? That's it. Number 7 is hindsight. I just did it again. Oh my God, there it is. This is where it gets real tricky, because in my clients, what's so interesting is they will say, oh, I did this completely different thing. It's just wonderful. And my job is to go back and say, nope, it's the same thing you've always done. Like, right? Okay. Number 8 is experiencing. Okay, I hear these words coming out of my mouth. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now. See it. I'm doing it. Number 9 is the awareness of choice. In this moment, I can stop doing this. You feel the power of that? I see it. I get it. I know where it came from. In this moment, I'm doing it. I can stop doing it. The awareness of choice, not reaction. You see, we go through life reacting, not choosing. There's a difference in terms of awareness. Number 10, resistance. This is where you go, I don't know whether I want to stop doing this. And if you have any oppositional defiance at all in you, I'm going to be working on that. Because this is somebody saying, I'm not going to do it. I like my fantasy. I want to hold on to that. I may not have anything else. You're not going to take that away from me. Right? Okay. I don't want to stop doing this. Number 11. This is where I, by the way, in the resistance thing is where I say, look at what you're doing. I'm the only one fighting for you in this conversation. And then you go, oh yeah. Right? Oh yeah. You're the one. Keep doing it, Martha. I'm going to eventually break down. Okay. Number 11. The unwillingness to go backwards. Now, this is when you know you're starting to heal, because you say, I can't keep doing this. I don't want to keep doing this. And yet you're still doing it, right? No, I don't want to keep doing this. But it's got to be sincere, because everybody says that in the beginning, right? I don't want to do that. But they don't mean it. They don't own it. This is where you own it. I can't keep doing this. Number 12. So here comes change. Well, what else would I do? What else would I do? And number 13, realization. There are other things to do. Look at all my choices. Look at the options that exist in my potential. There you go. Now, that's the journey that all of you are on. That's a journey. This is a time to look at yourself. You know, in my book, I think it was in the Life You Want book, the first line is, this is the age of individual consciousness. We are in it, ladies and gentlemen. This world is not going to change without individual consciousness. A lot of people are walking around saying how conscious they are that are fear-based and not love-based. Don't believe them unless there's a love-based system in place. Because that's being led by the egoic child's mind and the fear. You understand? I hope so. We have to come out of the fear-based experience. For God's sake, ask questions. For God's sake, open the mind. For God's sake, see what you're afraid of. Let's get you comfortable so that, no, that's just a little jigsaw piece, not the whole puzzle. We can either focus on the jigsaw piece, or we can have this incredible puzzle of which everything plugs in and fits, and it makes a beautiful picture, therefore a beautiful life. So guys, I'm for that, okay? And I hope you have a wonderful week. Let's do a little prayer too in just a minute for you. I often pray afterwards, but I want to pray now for you all. We'll be back next week, next Sunday, and we'll be talking about more. Dear God, thank you so much for all of this. We open ourselves now to surrender to our highest, most love-centered selves anything here that we have recognized in ourselves, that it may be transmuted and changed into something enormously powerful in us, that is our loving selves, our kind selves, our creative and smart selves, our generous selves. This is the world we're creating for ourselves. We thrive in this energy of you, dear God, and we thank you so much. And we now say thank you for our lives just as they are and what we are becoming here today. We thank you so much. And we say this prayer in your name. In the name of the Ascended Masters, our love-centered guides and friends, and the name of each and every person listening to this show today. We also pray for Rupert and his experience. We ask that you open him to something more. Dear God, we also thank every single person that listens to the show. And we appreciate it all. And so it is. Guys, thank you so much for getting the word around about this show. I really appreciate it. We are expanding our community through you, honestly. You're the one that are telling friends about the show, sending the shows out, I think, through the social media networks now, and telling more and more people about things. So we really appreciate that, because we're really set on expanding this community and helping where we can. So we love you very much. We'll see you next week, okay? Y'all stay well out there, okay? That COVID thing is still going on, so just be careful. Wash your hands like your mama told you, okay? God bless you. Take care.